It's really incredible to be here with you all. I just think you've cultivated such an incredible and magical community. I searched, I think, for, I want to say 47 years for a spiritual community in which I felt at home. And I can really see that you found that and created that. So many of you here. And I think it's so beautiful. Um, okay. So, Assalamu alaikum. Peace to all of you and Eid Mubarak. Um, Eid al-Fitr, as you know, is the day of celebration that follows the full month of fasting during Ramadan. And I want to tell you a little bit about how the Ramadan fast works because this year, more than many years, it came to my attention that a lot of folks just don't know what the nuts and bolts are. But mostly, I want to spend some time talking to you about what it's for, or at least what its purpose has been in my own family these days. My husband and I have fasted since we were young. And the nature of fasting has changed as we've aged because our bodies and our beings have changed so much over the years. This year, we've witnessed our children, who are 12 and 14, just begin to fast fully without so many modifications to either their fasts or their schedules while fasting. And across our different phases of life and experience, the fast has really um, brought home some important lessons to us this year. And I boiled them down to three big essential questions that we've been grappling with that I'd like to share with you today. But first, the nuts and the bolts of the fast. They come straight from the verses of the Quran, the text of the Quran. And the relevant verses tell us that fasting was prescribed for us as it has been prescribed to those before us, connecting us to other traditions. We're directed to fast for the month during which the Quran was revealed in its final form, quote, as a guide for humanity with clear proofs and decisive authority. Again, connecting us to humanity because it wasn't revealed to capital M Muslims. It was revealed as a grace and a mercy to everyone. We are to fast each day, not eating and drinking from the moment the light of dawn breaks in the sky until sundown. Most of the rest of the verses, interestingly, have to do with when not to fast and what to do if we can't fast. If we are ill or on a journey or can only fast with extreme hardship, then we're directed to feed the hungry in compensation. The more, the better. And also to make up the prescribed fasts later. Sweetly, and maybe a little hilariously, these verses end with an aside to couples, where God says, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, I know you've been getting busy with your spouses during the fast, and I don't want to make liars of you, so I forgive you and I'm allowing it. Just keep it to after the hours of fasting each day. Keep it where it belongs and don't bring it to prayer or the mosque. Seriously, though, one of the most beautiful verses of the Quran appears in this section, with God saying, your spouses are a garment for you, and you are for them. In other words, they're a mercy I've given to you, a protection and a comfort. This is as it was meant to be, and it's good. It's not separate from your spiritual life. Sprinkled throughout these verses are the reasons for the fast, to learn self-restraint and how to be good, because it's good for us in ways that are unknown and unknowable to us, to remember God, to be grateful, to correct course through consciousness of God, to abide by the limits and prescriptions that give meaning to revelation, that give rise to God consciousness. Ultimately, to create ease and diminish suffering. So those are the verses that set the logistics of the fast. And if you look carefully, you can see that it contains the seeds of what my own family grappled with this Ramadan. So the first question I want to talk about is the one that came out mostly in my kids' fast. It's a sort of coming of age question, although it's relevant to all of us. And it's the title of this talk. Who are you when no one is watching? My husband and I, Nadim and I, are pretty hands-on parents. We offer a lot of encouragement and affection, but we are not shy about setting expectations and correcting our kids. But our approach to the Ramadan fast is a little bit different. It's more of an invitation than a requirement. We approach it in the spirit of the Quran, which says, quote, "There is no compulsion in matters of faith." We don't ever police food or drink, even during Ramadan. And so for many years, our children have modified the fast with some advice from us, sometimes fasting half days, sometimes fasting with water, sometimes deciding not to fast from food at all because they need to work on some behavioral issues instead. Sometimes the children set an intention to fast but fall a little bit short, find themselves eating a bit here and there, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. But this year, something really magical happened. The children we could see at the very beginning had an intention to fast fully from food and drink. But the important piece was that there was no external compulsion. As a parent, I could see that this has become for my kids, as it has been for both my husband and I, an extraordinary practice of self governance. My kids live in a mostly non Muslim environment. Who would ever object to them eating or drinking during the day? They're away from us for 6 or 7 hours every day at school, and they have friends from all different cultures and faith traditions. They have free access. Forcing them to fast would only encourage lying, and we didn't want to make liars of them. Instead, when they were ready, they set their own intention and then they fasted, opening and closing the fast with the prayer that comes from the first chapter of the Quran, which I think Rachel read earlier in the service, in which they say, "To God, you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Please guide me on a straight path and don't let me go astray." And this becomes a metaphor for the rest of their lives. Set an intention aligned with God's pleasure, which is not necessarily your own pleasure at the moment, and then strive and ask for help. The fast is an intimate one. It's endured quietly in the daylight, and it's celebrated only in the darkness. It's a covenant each of us makes individually with the divine that can't be truly measured or manipulated by anyone else. And in that striving to make and then keep our intention, our own commitment, we discover who we are when no one else is watching. We learn how to distinguish true self restraint from conformity or fear of punishment. By asking ourselves who we are when no one's watching for 30 days, we learn what integrity is, what it looks like, where it comes from. The second question that Ramadan has gifted us, using words stolen from the great sages, folk hero Pete Seeger and singer-songwriter Natalie Merchant, as well as many union activists before them, is which side are you on? Ramadan grounds our spiritual striving in the material world. The practice of the fast is present in our bodies, in our every cell, depleted of moisture and energy throughout the day. The spent mind reflexively cries out to the divine so that we can concentrate on just one more task to get through the workday. And the body uses the movement of our prayer ritual to stay awake for just a little bit longer. In a state of fasting, we experience visceral empathy with the hungry and the tired, who are most often the most impoverished and the dispossessed. Whatever our status or whatever our wealth at any other time of year, during Ramadan, we recall with humility that the availability of food and water and shelter is only grace. That, as the Quran says, our every nourishment is an act of God. That our condition and our position could just as easily have been the condition and the position of the most humble creature on earth. We did not choose, we did not earn, and we were not promised. And so it's only in our interests, and certainly it is the divine mandate, that we not only feed the hungry, but demand, create, and support the laws and policies which eliminate poverty and hunger. God's bounty, after all, is freely available, and it's only our laws and policies and the way we organize our societies that put these things out of the reach of so many. The fast reminds us that the state of grace is to provide for everyone. And so the friend is the one who shares, and the enemy, if there is one, is the one who hoards. In any conflict, we understand which side is righteous easily and without confusion. We take the part of the hungry and the dispossessed against the gluttonous and the powerful, always aware that tomorrow these positions could be reversed. Our commitment transcends identity politics. It's not meant to be based on a shared race, ethnicity, culture, religion, but in that cellular experience of hunger and deprivation. We are always called to be on the side of those that most need to eat now, most need shelter today, most need protection from the injustices of this moment. Our final question, gifted by the Ramadan fast, is particularly important in North America today. What is the power of intention? The Ramadan fast teaches us that we make the world with our thoughts. In Ramadan, we make an intention and then we turn our days completely upside down. We take the most hardwired things about our physical reality, when we eat, when we drink, when we sleep, and we do them all at the wrong times or not at all. Until by the end of the month, nothing is the same. By will alone, we change the fundamental patterns and habits of our lives. By Eid, we find that our body's desire for food is different. With it, our desires in general come into question. Our cravings and our relationship to those cravings has shifted. There's a pause before we fulfill even those things we think of as fundamental needs. We take a moment to ask, is this permissible? Is it good? Is it right? How does it affect me? And how does it affect the people around me? Is it what I actually want? We are presently witnessing the fall of a very corrupt, very exploitative empire. This might seem unrelated, but hang in there with me. This causes many of us fear because our own economy derives so much of its wealth and stability from our proximity to an affinity with our southern neighbor. Sometimes it's hard to know which way is up when the world is changing so quickly. Muslim practice offers us the concept of a qibla, the direction of prayer. In prayer, just over 2 billion Muslims around the world face the Kaaba in Mecca, no matter where in the world they are. The symbolism is clear. Half the struggle of any journey is making sure you start off in the right direction, that you make your intention. Ramadan gave me time to reflect that much of the hubris of our leaders today is a reflection of our own lack of intention, our own hubris, our own lack of integrity. All the things we justify with, that's just the way it is, or I don't have a choice. Our own willingness to accept the greed and materialism of our society as value neutral, or even sometimes good, to accept money and stuff as the driver of our decision. Our own persistent failure in the West to stand with the dispossessed instead extract resources from Indigenous people here in Canada and around the world. Our willingness to see the suffering of people in Palestine, Congo, or Sudan as distinct from our own. But Ramadan teaches us that intention can be reset at any time, in any place. It can be remade, re-enlivened. We can always turn around. Empires have always fallen, but we can set our intention towards who we will be in that context, what we will build towards, what we will demand of ourselves, our communities, and our leaders. Who will we be when no one is watching? Which side are we on? What intention will we set for the world we want to see? And will we allow ourselves to believe in the power of that intention? These three elements together, integrity, humility, and intention, are meant to shape our lives far beyond the month of fasting. Thank you so much for your time and attention this morning. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be to you all.